now. There's still 3 months is a lot of time, That's like 90-something days.
90 days newspaper, and of course, I'd like to start first. Okay, so the major story here says toxic harvest, hazardous pesticide, harm food production exports. That's according to experts. It says $362.5 million lost to export rejects, over 22,400 metric tons pesticides imported annually. Of course, we ban pesticides injurious to health. That's according to the Director General of NAFDAC. Agriculture keeps mum on the impact of pesticide. Experts express deep concerns. Council of Federal Government. That story is on page 19. Farmers narrate experience threats to food production. All right, no genocide against Christians in Nigeria. That's coming from the federal government. In the stories on page 8. All right, we'll go to all the stories there. A strike begins today. Federal government waits into Dangote. Pengassan face off. Dangote blast Pengassan. Only recall of members can stop strike. That's according to Pengassan. And of course, other stories there says editor to security agencies stop misusing cybercrime. A right act against journalists. Customs commence one-stop shop cargo clearance. The stories on page 9. Ponzi SEC raises lamp over AI-generated investment scam. And of course, we go to the stories up there. INEC disclose details of selection process for Yakub successor. Serap asked Tinubu. All right, Jonathan will contest return to Asarok in 2027 on PDP's ticket. That's coming from Jerry Ghana. And Nigeria suffering bleeding at 65. That's coming from Ralph Obioha. All right, let's go to some inside stories of this morning. And then we come to page 5. As nationwide strike begins today, federal government waiting to Dangote Pengassan face off. All right, that story is on page 5. All right, we take all the stories there this morning. Page 6, Lagos arrests 5 over alleged dredging reclamation. Romans will saga. Dementia runs in our family. That's coming from Grunion Tells Court. All right, Zamfara, mine collapse. FG confirms 13 dead, denies 100 casualties. On other stories there, NDLA intercept bandits, drug suppliers, nab 2 kingpins. Troop killed 26 terrorists in operation across Northeast. Rigadinton Oniru of Iruland offer free medical care to residents. Coming to page 7, high cost of rent. Nigeria now rents shop space as apartment. All right, other stories that made the headline this morning. We'll come to other pages. Page 8, FG refutes false claim of religious genocide in Nigeria. FG poised to reduce sugar importation. That's coming from a Greek minister. Editors to security agencies stop misusing cybercrime act against journalists. And we come to page 9. ADC to Tinubu fix insecurity at home before seeking UN Security Council seat. All right, because I've taken all those ones. Olubadan Oba Ladoja unveils vision for economic growth, releasing withheld funds to sacked APC officials is abuse of power. This coming from Oshun Nolge. Lagos OPD recovers 815 million naira for indigent residents. Okay, other stories on page 11. We'll go on this commercial break, and when we come back, of course, we take all the stories. Stay with us.
When malaria knocks you down, sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Want to know what's coming, guys? The free beach ball! I guess I'd better start again. Oh, here we everybody. Free beach ball! Yes, guys, there's a free beach ball in every carton of Capri Sun. Get a carton, get a ball. It's time to play some more. Way! Capri Sun, the taste of fun.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance rice bran oil is rich in gamma oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance oil. Good food, no worries.
Guys, food is ready.
Suitable for jollof rice, stew, spaghetti, and yam portage. Cooked to impress.
Some say learning is, but as I see how manliness can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Bonvita. Prepare them to win every day.
Back still, of course, taking stories from the Vanguard newspaper. And on page 16, we have some of the stories there. Civil-military relations, the pursuit of peace. I will come to page 17, the battle for online free speech, activists, algorithms, or authority. That story is there. All right, I will go to some other pages there this morning. I will go straight to page. There's so many advertorials this morning. And of course, that will take me through to page 39, where you have the story at UNGA, AEC, Sholaworth Group joins global industry maritime leaders to unlock $800 billion opportunities for Gulf of Guinea. All right, we come to page 40. Federal government waits into Dangote and Pengassan again. And of course, Orogun Monarch petition Delta government over disputed President General certificate. And that will take me to the sports stories there this morning. FIFA Under-20 World Cup, Flying Eagles vowed to start well against Norway. More worry for Chile as ankle injury sideline Desser. Not bothered if I'm sacked, says Amorim as racked life backs him. All right, Gabriel's header and Arsenal full point at St. James's Park. All right, that's as much as I've taken this morning from the Vanguard newspaper. Thank you for staying.
All right, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune, starting with a story on page 18. That's on the front page of the paper this morning. Federal government has paid Osun State's local government allocations into APC members' account. Nolge reviews, and the writer says, describes action as bizarre, scary, unprecedented. APC slams Nolge, says allocations were paid into local government council's account. PDP challenges APC to disclose accounts into which local government allocations were paid. All stories on page 18. And on page 19, federal government summons Pengassan, Dangote to reconciliation meeting as TUC mobilizes affiliates for nationwide action. Dangote refinery, lawless Pengassan, its lies and terror tactics. Stories on page 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nigeria faces reduced number of banks as mergers. Acquisition pressure intensifies. That story is on page 7. NDLEA arrests 2 drug kingpins with consignment of cocaine, heroin, meth in Lagos. Story on page 27. Over 90% of Nigerians still uninsured despite NHIA Act. And that's coming from Falano. That story is on page 19. Security operatives rescue 8 kidnapped victims in Kogi. Story on page 27. And on page 16, we have Obaladoja unfolds economic plan for Ibadan. Assures local foreign investors of enabling environment, says Ibadan abhors religious crises. Let this coronation be the beginning of a new renaissance for Ibadan. And that's coming from Awolowo Dosomu. That was at the during the coronation reception held at the International Conference Center, University of Ibadan, yesterday. We also have a picture of the Olubadan during the Thanksgiving held at Ascension of Christ, Bodija, Ibadan. Yesterday also, taking some of the inside stories now, starting with stories on page 6. SEC raises alarm over AI-generated investment scams in Nigeria. Pension industry faces shake-up as PENCOM tightens oversight, raises capital threshold for operators to 20 billion naira and 25 billion naira. CPPE urges focus on agriculture, manufacturing to drive inclusive growth. Still on business and economy, and that's on page 7. Nigeria faces reduced number of banks as mergers. Acquisition pressure intensify. Custom exempt specific manufacturers, spare part importers from 4% FOB. NBC kicks off youth empowered tour today. Moving on to page 8, we have an advert on Nigerian Army recruitment. That's on page 8 in case you're interested. And on page 9, that wasteful Turkey trip by Adamawa local government chairman's wives. Well, that's on page 9. Moving on to page 12, where we have the money market. Federal government offers 200 billion naira bond for subscription today. Akon expresses concerns over circulation of fake Tinubu adverts, warns media owners against exposure of unapproved promotional content. LITF, that's the Lagos International Trade Fair 2025. Organizers target 1 million visitors, announce partnership with ECOWAS. NBC deepens investment in Nigeria youth. Flags off 2025 Youth Empowered Tour. All stories on page 13. And on page 16, let this coronation be the beginning of a new renaissance for Ibadan. And that's coming from Awolowo Dosomu. Obaladoja unfolds economic plan for Ibadan land. Assures foreign, local investors of enabling environment. Army recruitment, Delta making steady progress in utilizing quota, and that's coming from the QAS, that's the Chief of Army Staff. On page 18, we have federal government has paid Osun State local government allocation into APC members' accounts. Noge alleges Serap Tinubu. Transparency in INEC leadership, crucial for 2027 polls. And on page 19, over 90% of Nigerians still uninsured despite NHIA Act. And that's coming from Falano. Page 21 says, Anambra Guba, ADC's Nwosu declares party as credible alternative to APGA, APC alliance. Tinubu support group pledges intensified sensitization on renewed hope agenda. And lastly, on this page, we have ADC to Tinubu seeking UN Security Council seats while failing to secure lives at home is absurd. 25, and that on page 25, we have why Gulf of Guinea is crucial to Bayelsa, and that's coming from Governor Diri. I will continue to advocate for meaningful democracy, and that's coming from Professor Adeniran. NDLEA arrests 2 drug kingpins with consignment of cocaine, heroin, meth in Lagos. And that story is on page 27. Still on the same page, security operatives rescue 8 kidnapped victims in Kogi. IGP boosts police operations, commissions 59 armored patrol vehicles in Abuja. And taking some of the sports stories now on the back page of the Nigerian Tribune, Gabriel earns late 2-1 win for Arsenal at Newcastle. Boniface is no fit to start, says Bremen boss. And lastly, we have under 20 World Cup, Megana Kamaldeen target victory for Flying Eagles. And that's all we have on the newspaper review this morning. We'll take some weather reports and we'll be right back for the interview segment. Please stay with us.
àwọn oúnjẹ mèremère tó o lè fàwọn èròjà yìí ṣe. O ti ná owó rẹpẹtẹ ṣùgbọ́n kò sí àrídájú oúnjẹ aládùn. Yíyan kúrò. Rò ó jinlẹ̀. Àwọn oúnjẹ mèremère tó o lè fàwọn èròjà yìí ṣe. O ti ná owó rẹpẹtẹ ṣùgbọ́n kò sí àrídájú oúnjẹ aládùn. Yíyan kúrò ìsebẹ̀ tí kò tọ́ lè bá oúnjẹ, owó àti ìdánilójú rẹ̀ jẹ́. Fún oúnjẹ aládùn, má ṣiyèméjì, yan góòlù.
Lo Terra Gold fún adùn tó gbayì tó kì pọ́pọ́ táwọn ẹbí rẹ fẹ́ràn. Ó dáa fún ọbẹ̀, ata dídín àti jọ̀lọ́ọ̀fù. Terra Gold, kóró kan, ara tí kò lópin.
Guys, food is ready.
Suitable for jollof rice, stew, spaghetti, and yam portage. Cooked to impress.
In today's fast-paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
When you're low on energy and need a break, give yourself a treat. Cadbury Hot Chocolate. Smooth. Crafted from cocoa, milk, and sugar. Creamy. Chocolatey. Frothy goodness. Rich taste. So satisfying.
Cadbury 3-in-1 Hot Chocolate. The treat you deserve.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM120 on the Broadcasting Corporation of your state. Thank you for staying tuned. Of course, in our segment this morning, we're going to be looking at what we call Nigeria at 65, review of the economy. That's what we'll be looking at this morning. And to do justice to the conversation is an erudite scholar, an economist, Professor Praise Akinwande. Prof, good morning. Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so let's begin by looking at the fact that at 65 years, Nigeria's economy presents a mixture and a picture of persistent challenge like poverty, unemployment, and a lack of diversified industrialization, alongside recent positive development like GDP growth and ongoing reform efforts under the Tinubu administration. Though the path to prosperity remains hazardous and requires addressing deep-seated issues like weak institution, insecurity, and human capital deficit. Of course, amidst this is also the fact that there are reports that Naira is not gaining weight at all. So let's look at some of the issues surrounding our economy. And let's start with the issue of why are we still where we are economically? I mean, like I usually do this analysis, a 10-year-old child would have passed the stage of crawling and walking and would have been able to run, let alone 20, 30, 40, 50. And when you're even clocking 65, you're going towards an era where you must have been able to count your gains, your achievements in life. So why are we still in this situation?
Wow, beautiful question. And I'm going to pick it from the analysis and the illustration that you gave about a child at 10 that ought to have passed the age of crawling. But you don't understand that certain deficiencies can affect a child, which eventually make him to become an imbecile. And so a child may be subjected to certain forces that we find it difficult to explain that can, cause or mar his or her growth. And that is just a typical example of what happened to Nigeria as a country. Historically, if you look at Nigeria as a country, 65 years of independence, okay, there are so many factors that have contributed to where we are now. So if we want to now begin to dig deep into the economic phenomenon that has affected this country hitherto, a student of history, we know that this country has gone through a lot, that will definitely have adverse effects, not only on the economical sector of the society, but almost every other sectors that make up a sovereign nation like Nigeria.
So I think you should, let's reel out those factors that have affected our economy, from time immemorial. I mean, looking at, just as Jadisola has said, 65 years down the lane, and it still feels like we are struggling economically. Let's look at those factors. Just like you said, there are numerous factors.
Okay, thank you very much. If you cast your mind back to history lane, so many years ago, the economy of this country is not this bad. And that was when the country relies on exportation. And our export indices predominantly is on agricultural products. Cocoa in the west, granite in the north, and palm oil in the east. And this vis-a-vis some other agricultural products, boosted the economy of the country. But when the oil boom came, when we discovered the oil in 1970s, and that brought in an economic growth. Okay, now because of if you understand God's blessing, petroleum is a natural resources that does not really require much energy in production, unlike every other farm activities. If you're a cocoa farmer now, for example, now, so much investment you are going to put in before you eventually harvest your cocoa. But crude oil is a blessing from God Almighty, and was discovered in Nigeria. And this really shifted our focus, from the agricultural product to petroleum, to crude oil. So crude oil became the mainstay of Nigeria economy. And gradually we shifted our eyes away from the indigenous and self-made blessing, as it were, which has been the yesteryear's practices of our forefathers. Okay, now, when crude oil came and there was prosperity, okay, in the country, that, gave birth to corruption. For example, if a young man who is not prepared suddenly is exposed to unprecedented wealth with lack of experience and preparedness, he probably may squander it. And that's exactly what happened to Nigeria.
So you felt that we were not prepared for the crude oil that came?
It was a boom.
But it's quite unfortunate. I don't know where the idea of each region focusing on agricultural production in large quantity came at the time it was on. I don't know where the idea came. Maybe it was out of one region starting it, and the other felt there was a need to compete and come up with something in their own region as well. So, you're trying to say that crude oil killed that passion. Was it crude oil that killed it? Or we were distracted? Or we were not serious about growing the economy of Nigeria?
You see, one thing you need to understand about human being, the way human being responds to economic activities. Naturally, okay, every human being loves luxury. Okay, and if you look at, if you want to summarize economics from a layman perspective, it talks about how you respond to everyday living, your response, your behavior to everyday living. And one of the major things that drive our everyday living is money. And that has to do with how you generate it and how you spend it. So, and the generation of that money definitely consists a lot of activities and behaviors. So when you generate it, then you can spend. Now, whatsoever you generate now depend on how you spend. And naturally, innate in any human being, if you have an easy route of making money, that's what you face, that's what you focus on. And that is the reason why I tell younger ones, especially the young Nigerians now, because of so many breakthroughs, especially on internet, and there's so many other areas where people make money. You see, only when you see a young Nigerian now that want to engage in hard work, the kind of work we did while we were younger.
What kind of work?
Eh?
What kind of work?
Well, to survive, I remember to survive as an undergraduate, I used to go to sites where I carry blocks and I carry cement to make sure that I augment the pocket money my parents are giving me.
Really?
Yes. Sometimes I go as far as going to villages to pick up hired laborers working on people's farm to collect little money to survive. How many Nigerians can do that? How many young Nigerians can do that now? Everybody is looking for an easy route. So if there is an availability of an easy route to make money, automatically people will flood into that direction. And that's exactly what happened. Oil boom came and there was money. But unfortunately, the government of the land, who were the custodian of these resources, didn't use the resources well to develop the country. Alternatively, they pocketed that money. And so many Nigerians then saw, wow, this is a very good way of making money, alternatively, than working yourself so hard on the farm. And there was a neglect of that agricultural blessing.
Prof, based on what you're saying now, are you, implying now that the advent of crude oil has worsened our economic structure in Nigeria?
No, it was a blessing. Okay. But you know, the blessing of God is to make you. So God is not at fault to bless you in the first instance. But how you handle it is the most important thing. So our handling of crude oil was not in equal proportion to the blessing that crude oil, ought to have brought.
Okay, Prof. Away from crude oil now, we know we've been able to diversify a little in Nigeria. Not as well, as much as we have not diversified as much as we should. 2 months ago, the Statistician General listed 5 performing sectors in Nigeria as crop production, trade, real estate, telecommunication, oil and gas. Now, these 5 sectors have been performing in Nigeria over time.
Of course.
But what other sector do you think should be thriving so much that has not been given so much attention to in Nigeria? And I also want you to talk about these 5 sectors and how they've been able to, stabilize the economy of Nigeria.
Of course, yes. I have to tell you in all honesty that presently, looking at the economic indices in the country, there is hope. I can confidently tell you that.
Really?
Yes.
Are you saying this administration is doing something?
Yes, there is hope.
Okay, so respond to that question and then we'll look at what this administration
Yes,
is doing.
and you mentioned 5 sectors: real estate, telecommunication, trade,
crop production,
and oil and gas. Now, let me first and foremost look at, okay, is there any other sector that should be thriving, okay, that can be added to these aforementioned sectors, okay? Then I say, let's look at education. Education is a bedrock of every nation. And in that regard, we are not doing well. We're not doing well. And it's a high time for the government to look into educational sector. Okay? Yes, let's give it to private individuals who are making educational institutions to thrive. Okay, but you know, a private individual that goes into education is there to make money. Is doing it as a business. But when government involves in education, it's a project for national development, and it's an aspect that the government should look into to develop, making Nigeria, you know, to stand in economical ratio in the future. Education, agriculture, we're trying, and it's coming up gradually with various reforms that the government is putting in place. Okay, let me just talk about these 5 aforementioned sectors. If I still remember some other aspects that I feel the government can improve on. Then when you talk about trade, yes. You know, when there was a law, you know, to close Nigerian border, that was shouting everywhere and said the government is insensitive and they are not doing well to the citizen. But along the line, we are saying that that policy strengthened, you know, the trading apparatus in the country. And so it has really helped localized products to thrive and survive.
All right, Prof, before you go on with that, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Okay.
Terra Cube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 100, 200, 500 naira, along with Saver and Super Saver packs.
Terra Cube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still talking about Nigeria at 65, and we're having a review of the economy of the nation for the past 65 years, and also current under the current administration. But before we look at, you know, under the current administration in totality, we're talking about the 5 sectors that has been reported as doing well.
And
we're talking about trade, yes.
Yes, trade. For example, now if let me just give a very simple example. If you go to the market, before, when you go to the market and you want to buy, there's every propensity for you to buy imported goods, product, because you believe they're going to last. And so when you put on a brand that is made in China, made in Korea, everybody looks at you as an international person. But now, gradually, the focus is being shifted to locally made products because they have been strengthened. And they're trying to compete and even match with some of this imported product that we are buying. So in a way, it has gingered a lot of people to get involved in trading. Because when you trade, the purpose of trading is to make money. You want to deliver a product that satisfies a consumer. And once that satisfaction is derived, it pays for that product and you get your profit. And that is the bedrock and the interconnectivity between buying and selling, which is the summary of trading. And now, the present Nigeria has given a robust atmosphere for trading activities to thrive, in all honesty. Now, coming to real estate, yes, fantastic. My village, where I grew up, a land in my village, while I was growing up, I think a plot of land, even if they give it to you for free of charge, you won't collect it. You say, what do I want to do with it? But now, that place has been developed into estate now. And so, one thing you need to understand about land is that land is an asset that increases in economic value. And it is real estate that opens up that opportunity, that makes land to appreciate. So number one, it has reduced unemployment. Number two, it has boosted our national income. The GDP also real estate has contributed immensely to it. Okay? And now you now see that ordinarily, a landed property that nobody will even look towards before is now something that is valuable, that people can put an investment worth millions of naira into. So it's thriving. And that's why you see, and one thing about real estate is that real estate also aids development. Because riverine area, yes, community development, where you never think there will be good roads, where you never think there's going to be network of earth facilities, and when I put aside a real estate company somewhere, or I put up what do you call it now? An estate somewhere, okay, and people go there, automatically that will be development. All these things enhances economic growth in any given society. Okay. And we can go on and talk about it. You want to talk about telecommunication? It's there.
Okay, I'd like to take you on the issue of power. I mean, I wouldn't have expected you to say that the economy has started growing, looking at the situation of, power supply. You'd agree with me that for major development to take place in any economy, you must drive industrialization. You must drive production even at the local level. Unfortunately, we are still struggling with power. And it has been said a number of times that Nigeria even supply power to some neighboring countries, and they're stabilized. So why is it hard for us? A welder needs power to be able to do his work, to be able to produce. So many artisans, businesses rely on power. And the way we are going, along the path of power in Nigeria, I don't know how we'll be able to stabilize the economy.
Okay, now, from a professional point of view, it's not only power that determines the growth of an economy. Despite the fact, I'm going to agree with you that, as far as power sector is concerned, we are not there yet. Okay? But, you see, when you look at, let me give you a very simple example. If your child, brought his report card to you last term and in his mathematics is called 52 over 100. you look at him and say, okay, this is average. Boy, you need to do well. But this time, is coming back to show you his report, and he has made a significant growth by just 1 mark. Last time he got 52. Now this time he has gotten 53. You know, for you, it's not an improvement.
It's obviously
But it is an improvement.
How?
Yes. That is the way you look at economic indices. It's an improvement.
Prof, I'm happy you're going to this direction, because I also want you to educate us and let us understand, because sometimes when we see some of these figures and some of this percentage, you know, we ask ourselves, okay, we are saying the economy is growing by a certain percentage, but we are not feeling it. So now, just as you said, even a percentage is an improvement. Let us have an understanding of how, you know, what kind of improvement it is to the economy and how it can benefit the people.
Thank you very much. I try, anytime I grant interview, I try as much as possible not to speak so much big grammars in order to lose my audience. If we are in the classroom, we speak economical terms. We speak in languages to students. We know we're familiar with ourselves. When I'm on here, you know, you are talking to a market woman, an artisan, you must be able to come down to their plain language. I try as much as possible to do that. That's why I give practical examples. Now, you see, a country like Nigeria is so large. And what comprises economic growth in Nigeria is so large. It's a lot of factors that must be put in place, into consideration. Now, when you now talk about a growth, it can be 0.01% growth. It's an increase. Let me give you a very simple example. I was with somebody a couple of days ago, and a news flash came that said Naira appreciated against dollar, okay, by, I think by 50 kobo. And the person said, rubbish, 50 kobo, long. You are not talking about 500. You are not talking about 50. You are not talking about 50 kobo. Is that money? It's money, significant. From economics point of view, you don't see it as a minus. It's very significant. Now, when you talk about that is a growth in economic growth by so percentage, and you say we are not really feeling it, the general populace is not feeling it. Now, why it appears as if we are not feeling it? Let me use this room as an example. We are sitting in this room with air conditioned, and so everywhere in this room is cool. But do you know that I can use what I'm seeing here to determine the whole of this community? But that's wrong. But that's wrong. What is making us to have a cooling effect in this place is because of the apparatus that is here. And that is the way economy is. Now, when we talk about economy is improving in this ratio, and they bring a statistics, okay? Now, many people in Nigeria may not really have that effect is because you are not seeing it, but in principle, it's working.
But when do we begin to see it? How do we begin to feel it? What are those indices we begin to see to say, oh yes, the economy is really improving and we are growing economically?
Okay, I'm going to give you 3 things that will make you to begin to see it. Number 1, you begin to see it when you think outside the box. And I'm happy that everybody in Nigeria is thinking outside the box now. Let me give you an example. Gone are the days. I'm a pastor to the glory of God. Okay, even among our colleagues as pastors, we are seeing pastors now picking up additional skill. Some pastors are now thinking of, I think I need to get into a business. Because everybody is now saying that there is no free money anywhere.
Okay, let's quickly look at the reality behind what you're saying. Like she said, we had situations where we'll be told that the GDP has improved, the economy is growing, and it doesn't look like, that way to an average
To a common man.
Please, let's go on this commercial break. When we come back, I will take that question and give the answer.
Stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop? And is it to stop? Dishes come alive. So much taste. Sonia tomato mix, of course. Sonia tomato mix, yes sir. Sonia tomato mix. Stand up.
I'm in love. No, with you, of course, my friend.
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point oh.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer. Na money point, okay? Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as your banker. Progress na small win where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go buy ball.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM120, and we still have Professor Praise Akiwande, who is an erudite scholar and an economist, and we've been looking at Nigeria at 65 review of the economy. And of course, before we went on the break, we're talking about the reality in the increase or the growth in our economy, Naira. Now, I want to ask, as a layman, if there's an increase or growth in the economy, how long will it take before an average Nigerian would feel that good? Because many a times, you would see a report by NBS now to say that, economy has grown by maybe 0.5%. You won't feel the impact. The next month, it says it has dropped. And maybe in another 2 months, you start feeling the impact, because sincerely, there are times we feel the impact, but not instantly. Why is this fluctuating information and, reality playing differently?
Wow. How come? Let me look for a way to answer this question in a way that we understand. Now, okay, let me give you an example. When this administration came to power, because I know on several occasions you have taken me up on these questions in your various programs that I've attended, you, Yadeshola. And when this administration started at the inauguration, the administration announced the stop in subsidy. Okay. And that had an instant and adverse effect on every Nigerians. Now, one thing I want you to know is this. When the economy is growing positively, you may not feel it instantly. You may not. Now, the reason why you may not feel it instantly is when somebody have a wound. If the wound is healing up, are you still not going to feel the pain? You are going to feel the pain, but the wound is healing. But if the process of the healing continues, one day you will grow up and you won't feel that pain anymore. That's how economy is. But if you have a small wound and it's healing up, and you want to play football, or something and a hard object hits you on that same particular spot that is healing, what happens? The pain comes up again, and it's going to be like a fresh wound, even though it's healing up. That's why it is. Now, there are so many things that is forces fighting against the economy of any country. Talk about corruption, is there. Talk about government economic policies. Every policy maker in Nigeria is a human being that can be influenced. Okay, I can be in my bedroom with my wife, we are having a nice time, and somehow she makes me happy and can give me a suggestion that I go to the office and execute tomorrow.
And it works.
Emotionally, that may work or may mouse. So economic policy, corruption, natural disaster, okay, unrest, insecurity. There are quite a lot of factors that are militating against the thriving of any given economy. And let me tell you something, which you need to know today. For any economy to survive, there are people behind that will not want it to survive. Because in its collapse, that's where they make their hands meet. That's why they make their hands.
I like us to get that analysis clear. It has been said many times that when things are going wrong, some people are benefiting. Now, so give us an instance or an example to say, okay, so this happened, this is the benefit some people are gaining from it. The same way when there was COVID-19, some people felt, look, it was the best time for some people. They enjoyed and they had the resources coming their way. So give us this analysis. We want to understand.
First subsidy is a very good example.
Okay.
Okay? Fuel subsidy. I can say that with all sense of responsibility. The kind of havoc first subsidy brought into this country, thank God it was removed. Because anybody will say, okay, first subsidy, the government is subsidizing the price of petroleum product for us to cushion our effect. Whereas the corruption in that place, there are few people who are using that as opportunity to rake in money for themselves. So you see it as government is helping us, whereas it is not us that government is helping the minority.
How do you want to convince an average Nigerian that subsidy is good? Because I can see you excited about subsidy. When I was buying fuel at 100 plus 200 naira, and then suddenly I now buy it between 800 and 900 plus, and you're telling me it's an advantage. So,
let me tell you.
The removal of subsidy, where will you say we have seen that the resources, being put for Nigerians to now benefit? I'm talking about the layman.
For a layman, I will tell a layman, removal of subsidy has affected your behavior.
Excuse me?
Yes.
How?
For example, there are places I will not go now. Before I go, it's not adding value to me. But I just feel, how much fare do I need to buy? 1,000 naira. But if I go there, before I go to those places now, I'm going to think twice. It has affected my behavior. There are many families who are just having unnecessary 4 or 5 cars, doing nothing, just to show, to prove muscle. Nigeria, and the first subsidy affected me also. Is not putting proper cushion effect, okay, to leverage that decision. That is where I faulted the government. And immediately the remover, the federal government put in certain measures to drive in cushion effect on few Nigerians, but corruption could not allow it to go around. Is it the fault of the government? No.
And then it means that the government didn't do it rightly. Because if the government did, it would have gone round. Now,
how?
Well, it's the responsibility of government. They have the resources.
Now,
I mean, if we have statistics of Nigerians who are, living on the average, Nigerians who are not well privileged, if that statistics was there, then it should not be difficult for government to put these things. And that's the reason why we need to strengthen the local government.
See, there's one thing I want you to understand. When you talk about government, it's a corporate responsibility. Government is not only the politician. Government involves everybody.
Bro, before you go on in answering that question, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance rice bran oil is rich in gamma oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance oil. Good food, no worries.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point o.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer. Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure banker. Progress na small wind where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go buy ball.
Victor, even you dey use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Sonia tomato mix, stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop and is it to stir? Dishes come alive with so much taste. Sonia tomato mix, of course. Sonia tomato mix, yes sir. Sonia tomato mix, stand up. How
I'm in love. No, but with you, of course, my darling.
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
All right, well, come back. It's still AM120. Of course, before we went on that break, we were having the conversation along the line of government not being able to get to the people. And I said the need for us to strengthen, the local government so that whatever government is doing, when I was growing up, anything government was doing will get to your household because the local government was working. So if government had put in measures to cushion the effect of subsidy, it's not getting to the layman. The layman still pay tax. You see, you're driving on the road, you see all sorts of tax collection along the road. All of this is affecting the layman. You buy goods, you see, VAT, all of these are affecting the layman. So how would you explain to Nigerians the subsidy has been removed, yet we're still struggling to feed?
See, I want you to understand one thing. Nigerians have experienced poverty before the removal of subsidy. Poverty has been there. And when the government removed subsidy, it was removed not to eliminate poverty. No.
So what was it removed for?
No, it was removed for many reasons, but let me just mention two major reasons. Subsidy was removed because the government felt a huge amount of money is spending unnecessarily to subsidize, which is imaginary.
So the focus was not on Nigerians.
Now, it's because that money can be used to develop the country. And I can tell you, it has really, in a way, worked. I heard the president said a couple of months ago that hold your various governors responsible if your state is not developing. Because what has come to them, okay, from the joint federal allocation, half of the money, funds that the government has saved from subsidy has been spread over to so many states in Nigeria. So, which automatically is expected to be used, to develop economic indices, infrastructure, good roads, accessible and good health facilities. These are the things make.
Prof, would you say we're enjoying that in Nigeria?
That is the problem is not, we are not, the problem is, why are we not enjoying it?
Why do you think, or why would you think we are not currently enjoying those basic facilities in Nigeria?
Number one is corruption.
Okay, Prof. Not really entirely away from that. Last week, Friday, during the coronation of the Olubadan, the president said the economy is improving, and he likened it to, a surgical procedure or a surgical process, and he says we are coming out victorious. But how do we? I want you to evaluate this statement from the president, and how do you think we can move forward and better the lot of the economy of this nation? Based on the president's assessment and what we are seeing as Nigerians, it doesn't really tally. It feels like there are two different...
It has never tallied.
Yes, it doesn't really tally. What do you think Nigerians should begin to do? How can we look forward? What hope should we hold on to?
Okay, Nigeria...
Ask that, you accessing the president's statement now from last Friday, yes.
My fellow Nigerians, I want to really say kudos to all of us. We are part of it. I'm part of the system, okay? And it's not easy, truth be told. But you see, that is theory and that is practice in every analysis. So I can talk theoretically. I may not even feel it in the practical term. Are you hearing me now? Now, I've said it earlier on. Okay, now looking at the theory, for it only takes somebody who understands economic theory to understand that we are gradually, it's not significant. Why it's not significant? The significance is not wide enough to make it visible in the practical. I'm telling you the truth. But when you look at these instances, little by little, we are coming out of it. I just pray that nothing one day will happen that will negate this process, that will drive us back again.
Okay, so let me quickly take you through this. Nigeria has historically struggled with high and fluctuating inflation rates, often in double digits, particularly during periods of naira depreciation and structural challenges like food supply disruption. After a period of relative stability and single-digit inflation between late 2013 and 2014, inflation began to rise sharply again around 2015, continuing through 2025. Recent rates in 2024-2025 have remained high, with the National Bureau of Statistics reporting rates like 29.90% in 2024 and 22.22% in June 2025, driven by factors including escalating food and energy costs and foreign exchange volatility. Remember, I talked about power. So let's look at this analysis or this indices or this figure of statistics that have been brought before us. Why is our inflation rate unstable? Is it a reflection of who we are?
What causes inflation? Okay, it's when you have much resources at your disposal, fighting against purchases. Do you know that one of the things that this government is trying to do, and probably maybe they don't know the best way to do it, or they are being sentimental. There must be a need in any society that is working economically. You must try and bridge a gap between the rich and the poor. And that is just the simple reason why the inflation rate is increasing every day. Now, as we are talking in our society where somebody cannot afford 3 square meal a day. Don't let us even talk about 3 square meal. Where a person cannot even to eat a good meal, one good meal in a day. And you still see people around, okay, flouting resources to a waste. And now, the truth of the matter is that the first person, A, who does not have, another person, B, who has so much that is wasting, goes into the same market, buys the same product. So, and he has so much to buy. And there's another person, as a counterpart, who does not have to buy. And because the law of demand and supply, pricing is very, very significant. Because if you want to buy more, what happens? Price go up. It affects a layman. And so when you want to buy more, the supplier want to do what? Want to supply more to make money at the effects of a poor man who cannot afford. So a poor man who cannot afford basic needs of life is going to shout and cry. I can't afford it, oh, I am hungry, oh, house rent, oh, is clean, oh. As you are talking about house rent is clean and say, I can't afford it, somebody is ready to pay for years. In the same.
That rent is even another issue that is affecting ordinary Nigerians.
It's government policies. I
mean, what has government policy got to do with the cost of housing?
Because if there is, let me give you a very simple example. If I'm a landlord, and I know that if I crazily increase my rent, there is a cost that is going to put me into record. I'm going to think twice.
The cost is there. The implementation policies are not in place.
Are they effective? A landlord will go and buy, is going to bribe a judge, and then at the end of the day...
No, I disagree. I agree with that statement. I think we should look at it holistically. There are courts, functional courts, that handles rent tribunal that is functional in your state that I know well.
Okay.
Now, if you don't take your matter to court, nobody will look at your case. I also like to clarify that the issue of rent has to do with agents and house owners. They're increasing rents by 50%. In some cases, 100%, without renovation, without doing anything to improve the house. And let's go to the issue of building collapse, dilapidated, houses that people struggle to live in. I don't think this is an issue with policies or even the judiciary. I think it's our attitude, even as Nigerians.
No. It's in a way, it's our attitude. Okay, because even you, Judge Sholas, as I'm talking to you now, if you are a landlady, okay, you probably will have to give your house to me as an agent based on relationship. And you just say, oh, if somebody I know, he has to eat, he has to take care of his family, and so let me.
That's sentiment.
Yes, I'm telling you, that is it is part of what has contributed to the collapse. But when a government who is part and parcel of the people knows this is a problem affecting the masses who may not even have a voice to talk, you can bring in policies that is going to safeguard them.
All right,
the thing still boils down on the government. When you travel abroad, you definitely see that the government take care of the housing as part of the problem of the people. It's part of the responsibility of the government. Food, shelter, you know, and your health status. These are basic needs of the common people. You know, there are some people in this country, you may not even give them a car. You may not even give them visa to travel out. They just want to have a small place to live in, have access to basic health facilities and food. These are basic things that government should provide. Put in policies that is going to safeguard these. Once these things are done, a poor man, a common man on the street is not going to shout.
All right, Prof. Let's move away from that now. Let's look at delve a little into the issue of Dangote and Pengassan. And I want you to give your thoughts on the issue regarding this. Federal government has also summoned the disagreement. So federal government has summoned both parties, you know, to a reconciliation meeting this morning. But let's have your thought on that.
Unionism is good, but it has some adverse effects. And let's just come to think about it. If you want to ask me, my view, I will say that depends on the reasons why Dangote refineries, you know, has refused to allow its staff to be part of any union. I am an employer of labor, and in my own little business, I have my say on my business. So if I say I don't want you to get involved based on this reason or the reason, if I feel that is going to bring a collapse to my business, yes, I have rights to my opinion. So as far as I am concerned, now when you look at the way union is good, but sometimes, with special apologies to every union in Nigeria, you know, but sometimes union can go haywire.
Now, when they are deprived of these basic human rights, who fights for them when they do not join any union? You know, when things happen. Now, I'm talking from the aspect of and let's also not forget that almost 1,000 staff were sacked last week, you know, at Dangote refineries. Now, when issues like this come up, who are those that would stand for those people and say, you know what, this is an injustice, you know, done to these people? How do they fight for their rights?
I even wonder why business owners would not allow their staff to unionize. Even the Constitution overrides some of these things. There's right to association.
Yeah.
And so they deserve a right to join, the union they belong to. And that's where they can lend their voices. So why would I want to have an organization and not allow my people or my staff to unionize?
No, there is no, that's what I've said it. There is no problem about joining a union to associate. It's your right. But sometimes it can be abused. And a private organization, we shouldn't forget that a private organization, the major thing that drives a private organization is profit.
Make your profit.
It's profit. And he might, based on experience, may feel that if I'm not very careful with the way I handle my business, it may have an adverse effect on this business in the nearest future. It may not be now, in the nearest future. And so that can be something that is looking at. Dangote is a businessman. So, and it is business. And anything that is going to jeopardize his business flow can be a threat.
And let's also not forget that when this strike eventually starts, you know, Pengassan is threatening to go on strike if Dangote does not reverse or call back those sacked workers. It affects us. And see, this still boils down or comes down to the economy structure we are talking about. Now, how do you think they should resolve this issue? Because if Dangote is hell-bent or saying, I do not want unionism in my organization, in my company, and, you know, unions are saying, no, these people would have to join, or, you know, the staff are saying we have to join union. How do you think they can, you know, come to a middle ground to not allow this issue affect Nigerians?
Yes, definitely. I definitely tell you there's going to be a compromise. They're going to reach a compromise now that the government has intervened.
Okay. Oh, so they were only waiting for government.
Hopefully, there's going to be, But you know, from a business point of view, that is what Dangote ought to have done. As a businessman, yeah.
What was he supposed to have done?
Yes, he ought to have bent in the Four Sisters. That is from the business point of view. You know, a businessman. When you see a businessman, you want to collect something from a businessman. You don't just get it on the
let me give you this line.
Terms like that.
Let me give you this line quickly from the Vanguard newspaper. I said, Dangote recalled that in 2007, when the federal government sold its moribund Port Harcourt and Kaduna refineries to Blue Star Consortium, led by Dangote Group, for $750 million, it was Pengassan and its ally, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, that sabotaged the deal. So he's also saying that, look, I'm acting based on an experience that I've had with the union.
Yes. That's juxtapose what the statement I just made. He's a businessman.
But do you think the action of the union and the threat is also a way to stifle the progress of the refinery, of Dangote refinery?
Well, I don't think so. And like I said, hopefully there's going to be a compromise that will be reached. And you shouldn't forget one thing. Why I said there's going to be a compromise that is going to be investors. They have confidence to come and invest into your country.